Perfected gear. Yeah. 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 We're live.
Hey, man. Saturday, you know, that day of the week.
Ooh.
It's gonna be a good one. Fuck your feelings, Jess. And everyone, myself included. Fuck your feelings, because they will lead you astray hardcore, and they will sabotage you hardcore.
But I thought you had to do what felt good, Mitchell.
You wanna know what feels good? Not giving a fuck about your feelings.
But that doesn't make any sense, Mitchell.
It actually makes complete sense, because think about this. If you want to be an effective human, hey, man, no. I don't know what boo means. Maybe boo, like...
She might meant boom.
Oh. Yeah. So, it makes complete sense in that, like, think about this. If you want to be an effective human, such as you want to have a fulfilling relationship or a family or whatever, like, that involves you doing shit that you don't feel like sometimes.
Like what?
Like going out and finding ways to make money so you can put food on the table, or so you can keep the lights on or keep your house warm. And so if you just care about feeling good and you put that over everything else, everyone around you will suffer. And it's so funny. You ever see those people who are like, I'm so positive, but like you can tell that they're like completely trying to avoid all these, basically a major part of their life.
What about the power of positive thinking, Mitchell?
I mean, you have to use that in a greater context. Like, positive thinking in itself doesn't do shit. But let's say you're out there.
Mean? What do you mean it doesn't do shit, Mitchell?
Hang on, let me just get positive first. You're triggering me.
Fuck your feelings, Mitchell.
No, I'm entitled to my feelings, Jess. It matters how I feel. You guys and gals, people. This is really so important, because when you start to realize just how much of your day that you base around wanting to feel some type of way, and that is the guiding force in your life, you realize how much of your life you're wasting away just for some fleeting energy, emotional experience. Now, are Jess and I sitting over here, like, sad all the time? Like,
well,
that
would be feelings as well, though.
Exactly.
So are we just, like, stone-faced killers? No.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Depending on the day of the week.
Listen. Do I want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day? Do I feel like waking up at 5 a.m. every day? Do I feel like working out every day? Do I feel like doing the dishes every day? Do I feel like... No. Fuck no. Are you kidding me? My feelings? If I went by feelings, I'd sleep in. I'd sit on social media. I'd eat sugar all day. I wouldn't do the dishes. I wouldn't get off my ass. I wouldn't drink all the water I'm supposed to. If I just went off my feelings, I would be nowhere near where I am today, and my life would not look the way it does. Because this year, I started to take responsibility of my feelings and say, hey, you're not the directive force in my life. I am. And I get to decide what I do based on what I want to create. And that's how I direct my life. When I wake up, what do I want to create out of my day? What do I want to physically bring into my life? You are a physical being who's here in physical reality. In order to have something physically come into your physical reality, you physically have to move to bring it there, which requires you to say, fuck my feelings and just go do it. And if you want something huge to come into your life, you're gonna have to really push through a lot of resistance to do that.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like you can just set a goal for yourself of like, hey, I want to be, I don't know, like financially free or something like that. Or like, I want a good relationship. Like, that is going to take many, many days, weeks, and months to actually come into reality. And then when it's here, you have to actually handle it. And if you are at all being influenced by your feelings in that, you're going to sabotage it to varying degrees. So when Jess and I talk about like waking up at 5 a.m. or like working on a big project or something, that's to say our starting point in that and our intention is to actually make that thing come into existence because it's actually best. And best not just for us, but best for all. That's the principle that we operate from. And within that, it sometimes doesn't feel good at all. Sometimes I have to call people on their bullshit. Like I was talking the other day to some guy who claims he's a transformational coach. And I just see that he's basically abusing people for their money. Wow. In a very subtle way. But he's like, he's charismatic. And so he's trying to teach people how to transform their lives. But in reality, no one's changing at all. And so for me, I know that it's actually best for that guy to be at least aware of what he's doing. And so it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good to call him out. I do it in a way that I know he could hear it. Because also if I cared about my feelings, there's a subtle point. This is huge. Hey, Dave. There's a huge point is sometimes when we want to get a point across to someone, like picture you're in an argument with your spouse or whatever, or me with this transformational coach. It was like I had this moment where I wanted to just get him good. Like I knew I could just poke him so good. But that would have been me caring about my feelings and wanting to feel like I won. When in reality, real winning was him actually seeing, oh, I ain't actually coaching anyone in transformation. That was, so it's like these feelings are, gosh, they're tricky. They're everywhere. And it's not to say, like Jess was saying, we're not stone cold killers. I'm not sitting here with no emotion. We're just saying the emotions are really irrelevant. And think about this. Like Jess, I don't know about you, but like when we wake up early and then we're working out and then I know what I got to do and I'm on phone calls or I'm talking with people or meeting with people and making things happen, I feel so amazing.
So good.
It's like bliss like I've never felt. But it's because I don't care if I feel bliss or not. I'm doing it because it's what's best to do. And the result of that is you feel freaking awesome.
Yes.
That's the trick.
So another thing is, it's not to say that you shouldn't take into consideration when reactions do come up. Because that's showing you that you possibly have like past traumas held on inside of you. You possibly have, memories or events that have those feelings attached to them. Different things like that. So that's something that your body is telling you like, hey, you need to fix this or else you're going to keep reacting continuously through the rest of your life. And also you're probably going to imprint that on your children or the people around you.
No, you will imprint that on your children. That's just how reality works. That's how kids work.
And so it's not to say that you shouldn't work through feelings and emotions like those. That's not what we're saying when we say fuck your feelings, because that is very vital in your process to becoming an effective human and supporting other humans to be effective. But when you're going about your day and you're wanting to, you've made this decision. See, I don't set goals anymore. I make decisions on what I want my life to look like or what I want to bring into my life. And then I just physically do it. Because setting a goal means there's room for error. That means like you could possibly not meet your goal. And that's not how I live. So I see it as, I wake up and if I want to bring that into my life, then the resistance that I have, I take note of that so I can work through it, but I still go do it regardless of how I feel. So to a certain extent, yes, fuck your feelings and go get something done. But also make sure that you work through those points of resistance, because as you do that, it becomes so much easier to move. And it actually becomes like, you're almost like liquid, like there's no resistance, there's no friction there, because you've worked through all the points of resistance, all the emotions and feelings that were to come up to keep you from achieving those things that you wanted to, because you worked through them. But if you don't do that, then you'll just have to keep having to say, fuck my feelings, I'm so upset, but I just gotta go do this thing anyways, instead of just doing it. It's so much easier. And if you don't know how to become aware of your feelings and emotions and where they come from and all of those things, like, reach out. This is a process that Mitchell and I have been on for over a year now, and it has been a life-changing process to be able to map out your feelings, emotions, and thoughts, know where they come from, and know how to take responsibility of them and change them. And this is not something where you have to use anybody else. Like, it's something that you can do for yourself. You don't have to continuously pay a therapist for months or take drugs or anything like that. Like, this is a process that you can do for yourself, a healing process where you don't have to pass that on to anybody else. You don't have to live with that in your own life. It's amazing.
Yeah, and like what I've noticed is, like a couple of years ago, it would be so much, like I would have to put so much into just moving myself to do something simple, like start something or bring something to completion, like, you know, like business related things, for example. It would take so much to do that. But now, as I've worked through tons of these inner points, it becomes easy. Like Jess said, you flow like water. And the coolest part, I would say, is now I can take more and more responsibility, so that, like, I have a sales team of 15 people where now I get to lead them, in a sense, to go and be and do and have more. And it's like, if I was all concerned about my feelings and I was afraid to, like, talk to a stranger or something, or like I felt kind of shitty some days, like, there's no way I could do what I do. But because I work through that stuff on the inside, that gets reflected outside in reality, and then it becomes easier for me to like pave the way for others. But people on my sales team, they know about this stuff. I teach them things like self-forgiveness, how to like reprogram yourself, because that's essential to being an effective human. Plus, one other thing, think about this. Throughout history, we have never been exposed to so much stuff, so much noise. Think how many ads you get hit with on the average day, social media notifications, all that stuff. So we are becoming overloaded, and you can see it in some people. You can see it in their face, in their eyes, that they're like trapped in their mind, like, oh.
Yeah.
And so it's really on us. I mean, are you willing to settle for that? That you're just overloaded and you can't do anything about it? Like, really, are you willing to settle for that?
No. So that kind of ties in with what I was going to say is, as you work through your feelings and emotions, you know, it creates more space for you to pinpoint exactly what's going on, because you may be overwhelmed. You may be experiencing a ton of emotion. You may have anxiety attacks. You may break down. You may be physically unable to move because there's so much going on and you just can't pinpoint it. You're like, you just, and I've felt that before. I've been in those situations where there's just so much. You just have an anxiety attack and you can barely breathe and you're just crying and you feel empty inside, yet all this emotion at the same time. It's just fucked, totally fucked. Well, I'm here to tell you, as you go through this process, it creates, so as you do this, right, you become more and more aware of where these things are coming from, and you're working through them. So it creates a space where there's less going on. You're not thinking as much or feeling as much. And so when you do feel things, you can pinpoint them more easily, exactly what they are and where they're coming from. But it starts with the process. If you don't do that, you're going to continue to be overwhelmed. It's going to continue to accumulate, and you're going to have consequences in your life because you aren't taking responsibility of your emotions, feelings, and thoughts that are happening. You know, if you don't investigate and get to know that for yourself, you will constantly live a life of reaction and a need for stimulation. That's it. That's all your existence will be, because you're not actually observing who you are and why you have come to be the way that you are. And that is the only way that you'll be able to effectively move and create things in life, because then you know what you need to work through. You'll create less resistance in your life, and you'll get to support other people around you to do this same process. So not only do you become more effective, but the people around you become more effective. And we as a whole, as an entire planet, can become more effective. Can you imagine a place where nobody works through any feelings or emotions, where nobody worries about where their thoughts come from, and they all just want to be stimulated and they all react to everything everyone else is saying? How does that sound? Do you want to live in that world?
That sounds like our Facebook. That sounds like social media in 2020. Straight up, that sounds exactly like social media in 2020. Jess will make these posts. You see this on her wall, right? Of like, she'll just ask a question. She'll just ask a question and just like straight up, like she doesn't have a stance on it. And it's amusing to see how passionate people can be about certain things. But yet, like when it comes to like practically standing up and actually giving a fuck by like living your day to day in a different way to actually support people, like that's where a lot of people like, I'm like a Facebook warrior and I will go out there and I will stand for blah blah blah, you know, like whatever your party is that you're gonna side with. But when it comes like actually doing real shit in real life, like I don't see it. But I don't know, maybe people do that.
So the thing is, I see this a lot. A lot of people are like, people are unique. People have a lot of different situations. People have a lot of different preferences, a lot of different opinions, and you have to respect that. You can't step on them and you can't belittle them, and you have to let people be the way they are because they're just expressing themselves. And to a certain extent, yeah, I agree with that. But where are you accepting limitation within that? Mm-hmm. Are you accepting that possibly they are the way they are because of traumas that they've been through? Or because of these feelings and emotions that they haven't worked through? Look at my hair. It's getting so long and crazy, you guys. Anyways, so within that, like, are you... look at my... I gotta pamper her right here. Take care of my hair for me. But are you not working through those points? Are you not supporting somebody else to be aware that they have points that they need to work through? Because you're just saying, oh, they're unique. They have preferences. They have opinions, and that's okay. We can all just accept limitation and accept that we all have opinions and that we all, you know, have different preferences in life, and that's fine. You know, that, to me, I see that as accepting limitation. Mm-hmm. Because if we all work through all of the feelings and emotions and work through all that back chat, all those thoughts that are in there, then we can be so much more effective and we aren't going to be reacting so much. But it's when you just say, oh, no, that's just who they are. That's just their opinion.
Yeah, they're entitled to their own opinion.
And it's like...
Well, it's like that kind of thinking is why the world is so fucked up. Mm-hmm. Is because we don't have the ability to reason and communicate with each other of like real practical solutions. It's like, well, it's just my preference. I'm just this way and you can be that way and we'll just agree to disagree. It's like, no, let's come together and figure out what's best. And then let's do that. Mm-hmm. Fuck your feelings. Yeah. Let's make real practical solutions. Because meanwhile, while you give a fuck about your opinion, we still live in a world where every single day, 20,000 kids die from preventable causes. That's because we have a system of inequality where people aren't effectively educated. Mm-hmm. People don't have an effective home life. Yeah. Kids are basically born into hell on earth and then they grow up and they just repeat that. Because there's little conflict between people that's basically represented back to us within the world. Yeah. And so meanwhile, while we're all fighting over our opinions and how we want to I want to feel good and whatever, it's allowing for the world to just stay the way it is where we don't have to change. Yeah. But it's time to fucking change because you're going to start seeing it's about to get a lot worse. Mandatory lockdowns.
They already have that in California.
Yeah, I just saw in LA.
So
it's about to get a lot worse.
I just saw online that over 200,000 people die every day. Wow. And a lot of that is preventable. I understand there are some things that are not preventable. But the reason why we have preventable death is because, as a whole, we live in a world that does things based on reactions, based on whose opinion speaks louder, based on who's making the most commotion, who's getting the most publicity. That's how we make decisions. Mm-hmm. And that's not effective. Do you know what? This is 2020. Guess what? Guess what? We should not have any sanitation issues in the entire universe. Nobody should be hungry every day. Everybody should have clothes. Everybody should have housing. And everybody should have an effective education. But guess what? Everybody else is worried about their feelings being hurt. And I understand people have preferences. But we also have generations of people who haven't worked through their own shit, who haven't worked through their feelings, emotions, and thoughts, who haven't worked through their generational trauma, who just accept it and say, this is who I am. It makes me stronger because of it, because I have all this shit inside me. You know what? You're passing that on to kids. You're passing it on to the people around you, and you're the reason why people die every day. You're the reason why we don't have an effective system. If you can just stop prolonging the inevitable and actually work through your shit, then we could focus on the bigger issues here. Okay, I understand. Like I said, people have preferences. That's great. But you know what's less important to me than all these children dying every day? If you get to go into the bathroom of your preference, or if somebody calls you by the correct pronouns. I'm not belittling that. What I'm saying is people are dying and your feelings are getting hurt. Somebody being alive versus you feeling good. It doesn't make sense to me. There's so much cognitive dissonance happening in the world today. People just are not aware of what's going on because they're just caught up in worrying about their feelings and making sure everybody else is accommodating for everybody else and making sure that everybody's feeling good, and this love and light movement that the world is going to be better if we all just focus on positive things. Guess what? That's bullshit. That's not actually physically doing anything. Hello? You guys, we have enough money to solve all these issues. Why don't we all just take enough responsibility to direct the money where it needs to go? That's what we're doing. That's literally, hello, wake up. We've been making these live streams for how long? Like, do you want to actually change the systems in place? Do you want to take responsibility to not pass on your generational trauma? Hello. Like, that's what we're doing. You can have whatever kind of preferences you want after that. That's fine. But just bare minimum, take responsibility and contribute to something that's bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. Hello. Fuck your feelings.
So for those of you who can actually hear that, join Self-Perfected.
Join us!
Because we have a whole group of people doing this. Because guess what? Like I said, it's going to get a lot worse. Mm-hmm. Over the next year, 5, 10 years, it's going to get a lot worse until it gets better. And the reason it's going to be better is because we're getting into politics and we're going to change it and you're going to vote for us. Because who else is going to do it? I don't see it. Do you trust the big tech companies? Do you trust Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg to do the right thing?
Do you trust Republicans and Democrats?
Yeah. Are you looking for a savior?
Do you think that those polarities are actually solving anything? Do you think having any polarities in life is going to solve anything? Understand, we are here to support human life. That is very different than to make you feel good. Very different. There's a distinct difference there between life and feelings. And if you aren't aware of the difference, reach out. We'd love to share that with you. Also, since this is our weekly video on relationships, if you base your relationships on feelings, you're fucking it from the beginning.
Yeah. And isn't that what's taught to all of us from the Disney movies or whatever the fuck you watched when you were a kid? Of like, oh, we feel some type of way and like the magic, right? Like Jess said, you are fucked from the beginning. So either get clear on where you're starting with that relationship, because it's gonna fall apart. I would bet money on it that it'll fall apart unless Jess.
At the very bare minimum, know why you're in the relationship. Like,
wait, you mean I'm gonna have to go through that tedious process of thinking why I'm doing something?
Seriously, like at the very, very least, I'm begging you. Just have a conversation with another being, that being that you're intimate with, and just say, hey, this is my starting point. At least, please. And then if you really want that relationship to be successful, then lay down some principles that you both agree to and you will live by and stand in within your relationship. And then, if you really want to create a lot, then figure out your purpose.
Yeah.
As individuals and as a couple being together, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to create?
And hold on though, because what everything Jess just said is true, yet not just any principle. The only principle that is actually valid to start it with is the principle of what's best for all. Because anything else is going to have consequence. If you really look at it for yourself and you reason it out,
That's true.
anything that's not actually best for all is going to have consequence, and it's going to fuck you over.
How can you know if it's best for all?
If you're asking that question and you're actually serious about it, listen to the Self-Perfected podcast. We explain it. If you don't know what's actually best in a situation, that should be a big yellow light to you.
Red light.
You're kind of fucked up. Something went wrong along the way. That's okay. Where I started a couple years ago, I wouldn't have known that answer either. But I took it upon myself to figure, because I knew enough to know, it makes sense to like do the best thing. And so I took that on upon myself, and fast forward to now, I'm very clear on what that looks like. And if you want to hear more about that, we can go into that.
How long have you guys been in a relationship, and what principles do you speak
Marissa. Hey, Marissa, you're on the Self-Perfected call. I recognize your name. We've been in a relationship, so we met a little over a year ago, and then officially in our relationship since April of this past year.
Yes.
So that's, what is that? We got like about 8 months or so.
Yeah.
And then the principles that we speak of, I mean, the main one is doing what is best for all.
We have previous videos where we've gone through them all.
Yeah, self-responsibility, self-awareness, give as you would like to receive, making love real. That's a big one. A lot of people think love is just this feeling, hence fuck your feelings, because love is actually something you physically do. Love is, okay, if you had a kid, right, and you love that kid, and he's hungry, and he's got to have food in his belly to live, can you just feel fuzzy and that feeds him? Fuck no. You know that you got to get food. You got to find a way to get food to that kid, and then support that kid to keep developing. That's making love real. So that's some principles. And relationships as agreements, that's another principle. So it's throughout all the stuff that we do. But yeah, we have a YouTube channel. You can check it out. We have a lot in there. And if you want more direct support, you can reach out to us. Like, we have a lot of people that we're helping. So yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, in conclusion, fuck your feelings. And when you can actually understand that and you can commit yourself to doing what's best, you're going to feel more amazing than you ever thought possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the starting point isn't feelings. The byproduct is feelings. Because when you are doing a lot throughout your whole day and you're moving yourself towards your goals and you are doing it from a starting point of what is best for all, feels great. I feel fucking amazing every day. Are you kidding me? It's awesome. But that's not my starting point. That's not the reason why I'm doing it. It's simple. It is simple.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Thank you, Marissa.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna keep going about our Saturday. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.